Welcome to Lever Fanatics. Today, I'm going to give you a quick tour of the machine that I use every day to make espresso. There are some great lever espresso machines out there, as well as some not so good ones too, and it took me several months of research before I selected this machine. This is the Ponte Vecchio Lusso with 2 group heads. It's made in Italy, and the current manufacturer has been making this machine since 1999. But these machines were actually designed in the 1970s by SAMA, which stands for, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, Salvatore Marino Costruzioni Elettromeccaniche, or SAMA. SAMA produced these lever espresso machines in the 1970s for the Italian domestic market. They were home machines with professional features. Unfortunately, SAMA went out of business, I believe, in the late 1980s. But in the late 90s, the current Ponte Vecchio group took over, and basically they make the same machine with a few improvements, such as a low water warning light. This 2-group Lusso is the same as the 1-group. In fact, the body is the same size, and Ponte Vecchio just squeezed in another group head. What I like about the Ponte Vecchio Lusso is that it has a nice, small form factor. It won't take up a lot of counter space. However, you don't give up boiler capacity either. It has a large 3-liter boiler. This means you're not constantly refilling the boiler all the time. It also provides weight, so the machine is very stable, and you don't need to use your offhand to hold the machine down when you pull the lever. A large boiler also means you get great, powerful steam on demand. It also has a convenient hot water spigot that can be useful if you need some hot water quickly. One huge benefit of the Ponte Vecchio Lusso is the use of thermosiphons to heat and stabilize the temperature of the group heads. Many home machines bolt the group head directly to the boiler, and this means that after pulling a few shots, the group head will get too hot and you'll need to cool it down. Not so with the Ponte Vecchio. You can pull a bunch of shots consecutively. I've done 5 in a row and still have a very stable temperature. You can also leave the machine on for hours or all day like I do, and it won't overheat the group head. The controls are fairly basic. You get knobs for steam and hot water, a boiler light that illuminates when the boiler is active. There is another light that will warn you when it's time to refill your boiler, and you also get a sight glass to monitor your water level. The boiler temperature is controlled by a pressure stat. You can also monitor your boiler pressure on this gauge, which registers in bar. Unfortunately, to adjust the pressure stat in case you want to brew at a lower or a higher temperature, you have to take the back of the cover off the machine. It's located in a really hard to reach area inside. It looks like you could reach it, but believe me, I've tried, and it's actually easier to just remove the entire housing. Once you do, it's very easy to adjust with a screwdriver. And once you get it set, you almost never have to touch it again. Mine is set at about 1.2 bar, and it stays there the whole day. You get several baskets, but I only use the double, which holds at most 16 grams of ground coffee. Now, I do have an issue with the design of this portafilter. It's very solid and well built, but this 2-spout design just does not work like how you would expect. If you look inside, you can see 2 drilled holes. In use, the espresso tends to select one hole or the other, whichever is closer to the main stream. This means you generally get only one stream coming out. So if you ever tried to split your shot, someone's going to be very disappointed. But more than that, I always feel like I'm doing something wrong by not getting 2 nice streams. Most portafilters have one central hole, which then splits to channel the espresso into 2 even streams. I guess it's kind of vain, but I feel like this design makes me look less skilled than I think I am. The drip tray is small, but I hardly ever use it. In fact, I never have to empty it. Unlike a single boiler semi-automatic or heat exchanger, I don't need to purge water or even flush to warm the group head. And on the rare occasion that I do want to flush the group head, I usually just do it right into a milk pitcher or even the glass that I'll be using to hold the espresso to warm it up. The thermosiphon does an excellent job of circulating hot water through the brew head to keep it warm and ready for use. Okay, enough talk. Let's pull a shot. In every episode, I like to feature coffee from a different roaster. I love trying new coffees, and if you have any suggestions, please feel free to put them down in the comments below. We're sticking with our West Coast roasters, and today's featured coffee is from Ritual Coffee Roasters based in San Francisco. Ritual is considered part of the third wave of independent coffee companies which source and roast their own beans. We are using their Cosmic Shift Seasonal Espresso. This is a blend of 1/3 Guatemalan, 1/3 Costa Rican, and 1/3 Ethiopian grown beans. Step 1 is to weigh out 14 grams of beans. This scale from Amazon is super affordable and accurate to 1/10 of a gram. I do recommend weighing your beans, and you'll be surprised how different beans from different blends weigh. You definitely can't go by volume if you want to be consistent. I'm using my Niche Zero grinder. It does a fantastic job of grinding single doses of coffee. It's not ideal if you're trying to serve a large crowd, but if you like to drink different roasts, it's perfect. Some days I would drink 1 bean in the morning, another for lunch, and a third for the evening. This is a great grinder, but it is expensive and can be hard to get. I've listed some affordable and maybe more available alternatives below. I always distribute my coffee using a needle to swirl around inside the basket. It really does make a difference. Next, I use my super heavy temp to compress the coffee. Every time I try a lighter temp, I am disappointed with the results and go back to my heavy temp. Someday, I'll do a video showing you the difference between temp pressure. I loosely lock in the portafilter and I'll tighten it as I pull down the lever. The reason for this technique is that it prevents air from traveling up through the spout, through the puck, which might disturb the puck and cause channeling. This way, the air comes through the sides of the portafilter rather than up through the spout on that initial pull. It sounds more difficult than it actually is and is actually a very natural motion. I like to pre-infuse for 10 seconds and hopefully see a few drops come out. I don't like to see a stream of coffee, and if I do, it means I can grind a little finer next time. Next, I do 2 half presses known as Fellini moves, and then gently release the lever. Just before it reaches the top, I pull the lever all the way down for 1 additional full press. So let's look at this Ritual Coffee Espresso. It looks wonderful. Lever espresso machines usually do a really good job in developing thick crema. As for taste, this is definitely leaning toward the third wave style of coffee. It reminds me of a traditional espresso, but is much brighter and has a more complex flavor. I'm getting some dark chocolate followed by orange. This would be excellent in a milk drink. I think that the slight sourness would help the espresso stand up to the milk. To be clear, this is not anywhere near a single origin in brightness and still maintains that Italian espresso flavor, which is dark and rich, but with a layer of brightness. Very nice. I'd like to hear what you think about lever espresso machines. Do you own a Ponte Vecchio or perhaps an Odor Sama version? Any other recommendations on good or bad lever machines? I should say that not all lever espresso machines are the same, but I do think the Ponte Vecchio line are some of the best for both beginners and advanced users. Please subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed it. And as always, remember, the best espresso is the one you pull.